This is Toon Talk Weekly, episode 223. This week, Brad and I try to find our dads in outer space while running from Saw Boss when we watch an episode of the 1985 series, Jayce and the Wheeled Warriors.
It's terrible, all those worlds, destroyed.
Well, that's why we call them monster mines, Flowerface.
There, look!
It's clear. No monster mines anywhere.
Impossible. Why, that planet's smack in the middle of an infested solar system. It should have been taken over long ago.
Unless something stopped them.
Audric.
It could be, Father, but even if it isn't, we've got to find out what it is. Maybe it's the answer we've been looking for.
Not that I'm questioning your judgment, of course, but you do realize this means going right into Sawboss's turf? Oh, well, that's good. I feel better knowing we know what we're doing when we're doing something I'll regret.
The day just keeps getting better. Hey everybody, it's Tuesday once again. That means it's time for another episode of the weekly cartoon podcast, Toon Talk Weekly. That is, of course, this show. Thank you once again for joining us to talk all about cartoons this week. I'm Jake Williams, one of the hosts of this show, but I also have a second host here, and I haven't done an episode without him yet in, 4 years or something. Brad Chmielewski's here. What's up, man?
What's up? How's it going?
It's going well, dude. I feel like we've been talking to each other a lot recently, but that's kind of what happens when you work together.
Well, yeah, we work together, so yeah, it's usually at least every day.
Yeah, otherwise there's a problem. Something's happening. Right. What's going on, man? How's your cartoon watching been recently?
Good. I'm almost done with all the episodes of KO on Cartoon Network app.
Do they have all of them up, or is it only on the app?
I don't know.
It's just
how many are there?
You're just almost done with the ones that you've seen that are available to you.
Yeah, all the ones that are there on the app.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can watch it, so that's all there is to me.
Do you feel like the app is any better than the website?
The app's stupid. It's just like, I don't know. It doesn't do anything.
It's literally just a video player.
It's like, hey, let me log you out of Xfinity every single time.
Yeah.
So you have to log in, and okay, here you go.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I haven't gone back to the app until, I feel like, actually, when we watched KO, I think is the last time I used it, because I was like, oh, I want to see what the experience is like here versus the website. But, yeah, I haven't watched a whole lot of that this week. And KO is something I got to catch up on, because, honestly, there was a cool video. We actually tweeted it out over on our Twitter account, at Toon Talk Weekly, that was produced by a company called Oddfellows. It's a design studio, but it's an animation celebrating Cartoon Network's 25-year anniversary, or 25th year. And it's a great throwback. Like, it combines a sharper look of all the cartoons you remember from those early golden age kind of years, we can call them, of Cartoon Network's cartoons. So stuff like Cow and Chicken, Johnny Bravo, Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff Girls, Ed, Ed and Eddie, like a lot of your favorites are on there. But it looks modern stuff, especially when mashed together with new stuff, new popular stuff like Ben 10, Teen Titans Go, Adventure Time was on there, Clarence, I think some Gumball. But right. KO also made an appearance, and it's kind of interesting because I don't know what the failure rate is these days, if you want to call it that, of a new cartoon property. But I feel like KO kind of came out and just immediately fit like the bill of like, this is a Cartoon Network show, and it's already featured in the 25-year thing. That's awesome.
Well, what's funny, if you go back and watch the 20th year video, it's a very similar idea. It's actually almost a little more fun, but a lot of those cartoons are not in the 25th year, like Foster's, Home for Imaginary Friends, like that whole block of cartoon time is not featured in the 25 year.
Weird. I wonder if it's because they've like the early stuff is always going to be remembered as great stuff, right? It's what got you to know the network. And even all the cartoons weren't huge hit. I actually don't, now that I think of it in the spot, I don't know that Courage was in it at all. He might have been. Or Billy and Mandy might not have been in it. Those are some early cartoons.
But I think Billy and Mandy were in the 20th anniversary one. But
now I feel like they have some pretty big hits over the last 5 years, especially including stuff like Adventure Time, and then along comes Steven Universe is very popular. I don't know. It's like a new age too of like the stuff that kind of gets shared and talked about. I mean, how many GIFs and memes, and I know you contribute to this, are like are based on new cartoons or funny things that new cartoons characters say, but those things weren't really around when Johnny Bravo was popular.
Right.
So kind of interesting. But anyway, check out at Toon Talk Weekly on Twitter if you guys want to see some stuff. We shared that. And then I think there was also another cool kind of just like a bumper, maybe like 20-second mashup of some of those ideas. But hey, congrats on 25 years, Cartoon Network. I'm glad they're still around and they've definitely carved out an identity for themselves. There's also a thing I just discovered. I don't know how far along it is, but I guess an Indiegogo campaign for a documentary about Nickelodeon called The Orange Years. And it sounds like it's by two, I'm just going to call them super fans, but I guess two guys who really enjoyed those Nickelodeon cartoons. And it sounds like they're trying to put together a documentary called The Orange Years, basically about those golden age up through like SNCC era of Nickelodeon, right? So you got your Pete and Pete and your Are You Afraid of the Dark, all the early Nicktoons. And they're trying to get interviews and footage from Nickelodeon, but also with like actors, directors, writers, that kind of stuff. Sounds kind of cool. But I don't know how far along it is.
Yeah, I'd watch it.
Especially if they have any ties at all with Nickelodeon, which I'm not sure they do. There was that Nick Animation podcast for a while, and I assume it's still going on. And that was amazing. That was like super informative. So I'd love to see more stuff like that from the creators. But
yeah, I don't know if that. I've only listened to like a couple episodes of that, so I don't remember that being if where that's at. They might have fizzled out, although it could be super popular. Who knows?
It pod faded. It's done.
Right. It's either gone or it's incredibly famous. There's no in between, really.
Isn't that kind of how you feel about most things you may or may not know about? Like,
yeah.
Like, if I've never heard of it, it's either really big and I don't care, or it's just nothing.
Yeah.
So, anyway, huge intro here, just because I've been hearing a lot of cartoon stuff, especially with Comic-Con going on right now. I was able to find a bunch of news about new shows coming, so that looks fun. But this week, we decided to go back into the vault to a cartoon that I know I'd never heard of. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, Brad, you'd never heard of this either.
I don't even know how you came across this show.
This show is called Jayce and the Wheeled Warriors, if I can mess that up. I could have said Weird Warriors, and it'd probably be the same idea.
Yeah.
The show is actually from 1985, produced by DIC Entertainment. It was animated by Japanese animation studios Sunrise, Shaft, Studio Giant, Studio Look, and Swan Productions. So 5 studios actually in charge of animating the show. And it followed that old format of, today we're used to, 1 season, 10 episodes, or 1 season, 13 episodes. This was 1 season, 65 30-minute episodes is how long this show ran.
It's ridiculous.
So it makes sense. And I don't know, maybe it was back at a time, I'm not sure if these aired every single day, like 5 days a week, and that could be a reason why, but man, that's not that common anymore, is it? The 5 days a week thing. Now it's like, oh, there's a new SpongeBob on at Friday, and that's when it is.
Yeah, sometimes they'll drop them. Well, they'll do like a week of episodes, or but then they don't have new ones for a while.
I think that's how Over the Garden Wall was, if I remember our discussion about that one a long time ago. They did like a 5-night event where they showed the whole series. Yeah. So the show, Jayce and the Wheeled Warriors, was actually created to support Mattel's Wheeled Warriors toy line, much like many 80s cartoons we talk about. Although, man, I feel like we just did a show, and I can't remember which it was, that you couldn't do it one way or the other. Like, you had to make merchandise based on the show. You couldn't like make a show as a long form advertisement for your thing.
That was because it was a British show.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. That could have been. Oh, I think it was Action Man. Might have been.
Yeah, it was an American show. American TV and American culture really doesn't care as long as there's money involved.
Yeah, it's all advertising at this point. The show actually had an ongoing plot that was left unresolved because the series got left in the dust. It got canceled after the 65 episode first season. And actually, there was no backstory for the toys at all. Distinct characters was created by DIC and some of the writers to allow for a structured story to talk about them. So it's kind of funny that when you play with toys, right, you're probably making up your own stories and adventures and what they go on, but none of that existed until DIC came in and said, hey, this is what Jayce and the Wheeled Warriors is all about.
Okay.
What if you had a toy, like you had some of the good guys, and you thought, like, this guy was the leader, and then the cartoon starts, and it's, oh, this kid is actually the leader. Damn it.
Yeah, you'd be kind of pissed, yeah.
Yeah.
Or you just never bought the toys because you didn't know what they were.
Right, yeah. They weren't Turtles. I don't care. They weren't Star Wars. And I guess so due to less than successful toy sales, the series was canceled. Basically, there was also a movie in the works, but because the movie was going to wrap up the story of what they told in the series, basically because the show didn't prove successful at selling more toys, they just decided to cancel the series.
I love that that's the benchmark for it. It's not, people aren't watching this show. It's like, oh, our 30-minute commercial just isn't selling. Let's end this commercial.
Yeah, our 1,800 minutes of cartoon is not selling these toys enough. We got to stop this.
Yeah, but tons of people are watching this, but probably not. But.
Yeah. So I guess let's talk a little bit about the story of Jayce and the Wheeled Warriors, what you can expect, because we chose an episode kind of in the middle, like third or so of the series. And the funny thing about that is because it's an ongoing story, boy, did we miss a lot. But I think you can gather kind of what it's about. So the show, Jayce and the Wheeled Warriors, features two dueling forces. The heroes and humans are called the Lightning League. They're the good guys who drive white and silver vehicles and assorted weaponry led by the teenager named Jayce, the, of course, protagonist of the show. The villains are all organic plant-based creatures called the Monster Minds who travel via large organic vines. They can grow in and across interstellar space and sprout seeds and grow rapidly into further monster minds. They're led by a guy named Sawboss, which is the freaking worst villain's name I think we've ever done.
Well, his name could have been like Steve.
Sure, but I mean like Sawboss.
Hey, Boss Steve. What's up?
Boss Man Steve. Yeah, Mr. Jones. Something just stupid. And so I guess what I'm gathering is that the overarching story is that Jayce, the leader, is kind of this bearer of, he has this like magic root. So there is like a plant-based kind of thing there. He's also got this ring of light. Basically, he's searching for his father, Audric, who kind of created or worked for or built the original Lightning League. Okay. And at the same time, Sawboss is trying to stop any sort of good guys happening, and he's kind of infesting planets with his plant energy throughout the universe. So that's kind of where the adventures go. And each episode seems to, it had like a DBZ vibe to me, where like I feel like we're just in a small off story for a second before going back to the main story of what's happening in the case of the episode we watched today.
A little bit.
So let's talk about the characters real quick. I wrote down a lot of them, but I didn't quite get into detail about all of them. But of course, Jayce, the main character, he's also got in his crew of kind of the Lightning League, Gillian, it might be Jillian, that's how it's spelled, is the wizard, the old man. You've got Flora, who's like a little girl. Brock is Flora's flying Goldine fish mount, basically. We have Herc Storm Sailor, who is a mercenary and also flies one of their ships, who could not be more Han Solo if you tried. I think they saw the popularity of Star Wars and they said, we're making Herc Storm Sailor. That's what I gathered from it. He even said stuff that Harrison Ford said, like, oh, calm down, kid. We'll get her through there. Like, just, yeah, anyway. And then you've also got Un, who's like a little robot guy, who's pretty great. And then the Monster Minds, the only guy we really need to concern ourselves with for this episode is Sawboss. He's the leader. He was actually spawned. I'm not going to go way deep into the story, but I thought this was a neat fact. He was spawned from the very plant that Audric, Jayce's father, intended to end starvation for all humanity. So he built this plant, and Sawboss ended up coming out of it. That's kind of cool. But there were some cool names for the villains that they came up with, including Gun Grinner, Terror Tank, KO Cruiser, Beast Walker Commander, Saw Trooper Commander, and Dr. Zorg. Come on, man. Any of those names would have been better than Sawboss.
Yeah, Dr. Zorg is pretty good, but just makes me think of Zoidberg.
That's true. Yeah, a little bit. So let's talk about an episode real quick here. Season 1, episode 22 of Jayce and the Wheeled Warriors. It's called Quest into Shadow. This originally aired October 15th, 1985. So, hey, roughly 32 years later, 42 years later, dude, 32? Yeah, 32. What am I? I can't do math. 32 years later, we're talking about it.
Okay.
It's the anniversary. Guys, did you know it's about the anniversary of Quest into Shadow, Season 1, Episode 22 of Jayce and the Wheeled Warriors. Don't you celebrate or something?
No one did.
So we begin the episode with a rad title sequence. This is actually one of the reasons that I chose this, dude, was back in the 80s, we talked about this recently, I think maybe on Action Man, but like longer than are necessary title sequences that show just radical explosions and action and adventure, probably some of my favorite stuff. And this was no different. I also felt like the intro very much tried to show what the toys felt like. I think I forgot to write this down, but the toys had like a slogan that was like "Stack and Attack" or something like that, where you could like unclip parts of vehicles and connect them to other parts of vehicles, and they very much show that in the intro. So that was a pretty cool way to start it. However, we start the episode with the Lightning League, and they're kind of putting out these like satellite beacons. They're kind of looking for other planets because, of course, they're looking for Jayce's father. That's the main thing they're looking for. Okay. And what they do is they find this one planet in a sea of other planets in like a sector of the galaxy or the universe or whatever, where every other planet is infected. Sawboss has already been there, and he's got these vines, these crazy like it's got some cool like fantasy elements along with the sci-fi here, where basically all these roots have like overtaken these planets. However, there's one planet in the center of the system that is serene, it is untouched, and they're unsure why Sawboss's power wasn't able to sort of infest this planet. Before they can kind of like make communication and figure out exactly what's going on, they do decide to try to head to this planet, but of course Sawboss tries to head them off before they can make it to this planet. They shoot these little like missile kind of things into their ship that grows slowly, all these vines over it. And instantly they're like, hey, use lightning shield attack, because of course we have that thing, and that gets rid of the vines. I also want to point out how funny some of the scenes were here where, what's his name? Herc, the mercenary guy, Han Solo in this case, right? I thought it was so funny how he pilots the ship on like the 6 yellow button console. Like that's all it is, and he just presses different sequences of it. Like it's not... There's so much cool space UI all over the ship, and all he does is beep boop beep beep, and okay.
Yeah, man, that's how you just need forward, you just need up, forward, left, right, back. That's all you need to do to drive.
You might as well have like an Atari
Maybe
controller.
Like a hyper button in the middle.
No, yeah, don't put it in the middle, man. You might press it more often. Yeah, no, I don't. So they do escape.
You gotta keep it close. You gotta go to hyperspeed a lot.
Hey man, we watched a whole episode of this. No hyperspeed. Spoiler at this point. I'm sure it's there though. It's got to be. It's part of space fantasy at this point.
They're going to ram us.
Not if I can help it. Hang on. Cleaned them up.
Better head for that planet before they can regroup. Adjust our course, Herc. We shouldn't be far now.
They are headed into Sector 7, and the one world we have not been able to subdue. Dispatch another attack squad, bigger than the last. They must be stopped.
As you command, Excellency.
So they do escape Sawboss's kind of attack on them, and they land on the planet. But they notice like everything's very desaturated. It's very much like the desert planet of the world of Trigun, that anime we watched, right? There's almost nobody there. There's almost no life. However, when they're looking out, discussing like what is it about this planet that they can't kind of like do anything on this planet? Why can't Sawboss take over this planet? This is when Un, the little robot, actually sees a person on this planet and gets scared. He's like, oh, there are people actually living here. I can't remember if it takes them meeting the people or if it was the wizard or one of the other characters who basically spoke up and tells you why the people are existing on this planet and why other things can't, basically.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a little confusing just when the main wizard lady was talking to them about the planet and just what was happening. I was getting lost watching the show, to be honest.
I can't quite remember.
It could be because we were in the middle, but I was like, I don't get what's happening. Is this a trap? Are they all gonna die here?
There's definitely a very uneasy feeling when their ship gets surrounded by a bunch of these sort of cloaked figures who also have these like metallic masks on. Knowing that the episode was called Quest into Shadow, I kind of thought that, okay, there might be some sort of dark evil power kind of thing to do with this episode. But aside from that, yeah, I didn't really know what to make of this. The crew is actually led to, I'm going to butcher her name because I forgot. I want to call her like the Queen of Shadow or something like that was her kind of moniker. And she speaks with them and basically says like, the only way you can survive here, they're discussing that like kind of what antimatter is, but they call it anti-life. That's what this planet has. And only certain things can basically live here because it's got like this different type of atmosphere, this different, I don't know, this sort of aura about it that exists as anti-life, and only these beings who have chosen to be under the rule of the Queen of Shadow here can kind of live here. It's kind of an interesting, weird sort of thing. But she says, the only way I can cure you is, or the only way you can stay here and be safe is if I touch you. It's kind of great.
Right, which made me think when she said this, like, man, I would not let this like wizard touch you. Like, you're just going to be trapped in like this planet. Because then there's also shots of, is it Sawberg, where he's like envisioning cars in his head. I was like, man, they're gonna get trapped in like some crazy thing's head and they'll never get out of here.
Yeah, like it's a little uneasy. You're meeting these cloaked figures. What are they doing? And meanwhile, it's like, well, you just met me, but hey, if you want to stick around, I gotta touch you. And it could send you somewhere. Who knows?
Yeah, but then this flying fish dragon thing goes up, gets touched, and disappears. Yeah,
so Brock, this is the, we mentioned earlier, Flora, who's the little girl. It's her flying fish mount. Instantly is like, oh yeah, I trust her. And like goes up and disappears. And like right in the beginning of the episode, I assumed it's just dead. Like, yeah, well, glad I got to know that character.
But I was also like, man, that thing is weird. I don't know what it is. I'm glad it's out of here.
It's a Goldeen, man, from Pokemon. That's what I thought it was.
I was like, how is this fish? Is this a fish or is it a dragon? If it's fish, it's dead, man. There's no water.
You're right.
So is it a dragon? Planet. But it looks like a fish.
Right.
I don't know.
And so here we
good riddance. That thing was out. Yeah.
Yeah. I was on board until I saw the fish. Now the fish is gone. I'm back on board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ones in need of help now are all of you. In coming here, you have doomed yourself and your friends. The anti-life in which we exist will drain your energy, and you will simply stop. You will be no more.
There must be a way.
Yes, there is one way out. Only the touch of the Dark Queen will bring you peace. In other words, disappearance from this world.
And so they don't accept her offer, basically. They say like, well, you just killed our fish, apparently, or sent it somewhere. We're not sure where. Meanwhile, Sawboss finally finds a way onto this planet and decides to try to attack them as they're doing this.
Yeah, but they didn't ask questions about where the fish went.
Yeah,
They're just like, oh man, okay, yeah, we don't know about this. Not like, where's he at? Like, can we get him? Like, how do we get him back? This is screwed up. Like, let us have our fish back.
It was like, very much like they just backed out of the room. They're like, whoa, and that was it.
Yeah,
I don't trust this lady. So as like Sawboss is attacking, we do get a battle sequence. I'm starting to realize the tempo, basically, of old 80s cartoons, which is like a 2/3 build to an action sequence that lasts for the more or less the final third, and then resolution. Like there's almost all of them have the same kind of tempo to them.
I guess, but this battle scene seemed really short. There was like 2 plant trucks, and then they like got sucked back up, and that was it.
Yeah. And meanwhile, like they have this like meeting with the queen by their ship. Their ships are also running out of energy because it's this anti-life planet, so things are just being sucked from it. Like they don't last as long. You've also got Flora and Un. Right. Un's the little robot, kind of being like degenerating almost, like they're gaining like some kind of disease, which is sort of funny because all they do is get bruised. Like the art of it is kind of not great. And also, yeah, the vehicles he sends down are like these remote vehicles, but sometimes they just like turn to stone, and because they can't survive down there either, basically just a bunch of henchmen. I also feel like the action sequence was very deliberately, and obviously we know the cartoon was there to sell toys, was there to make cool action poses of the different toys you could buy. This is what I felt like.
All right, so did you buy these plant trucks? Like, they're not very attractive.
No, they're not. But I bet they're plant trucks, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was confusing. But after they kind of like fight off Sawboss's minions here, and of course we're simplifying like the rest of the story, they go and realize, well, we're running out of energy. We can't run the ships anymore. Sawboss found a way onto the planet, so who knows how much longer we could last. They go back to this Queen of Shadow, and it's here where she goes more into detail and is like, oh no, this planet has anti-life, so what I give you is anti-death, meaning you can't die. And it's like, why didn't you specify at the beginning? Like, I wasn't quite sure.
Right.
And then
but it was also like they were coming to her kind of like, yeah, we're gonna die, so just zap us, and if we die anyway, like it was like a, I don't know, a sure destruction kind of thing. Like, we're dead. Like, let's see what this does. Like, it might kill us.
Right. Just trust the kindness of strangers, apparently.
There is only one escape from this place. Only the touch of the Dark Queen can bring you peace.
Are you offering me death?
We live in a world of anti-life. Therefore, I am offering you anti-death.
I see. So that's it. We've got to do it. We've got to let her touch us.
Of course, my boy. You're right.
What? You two have got to be out of your minds.
There's no time to explain. And even if there was, I think you'd have to trust me without explanation.
Oh, good. The whole world's gone nuts.
However, here's the part I didn't understand. So she touches them all, and they get sent to basically this more serene version of the planet. Like there's plant life, there's trees, there's mountains, there's like a beautiful scenery, and she is up in the sky sort of speaking to them, and now her crown is off, and she's actually shown that she's this beautiful woman who's the queen of all these people, and she's kind of discussing with them where she sent them. They also meet back up with Brock, the flying fish thing. So apparently Brock, the fish, knew what she was saying or could understand the energy of the aura of where she sent him. That's why he just went up and was like, yeah, zap me.
Yeah, I think they were like, oh, Brock knew all the time that she trusted her. And I was like, oh, man, I'm putting a lot of faith in this fish.
Yeah, I don't know how far you're going to go, Jayce, or your wheeled warriors. But what was weird is like, okay, is this planet is the anti-life version of this planet like a hidden visage that visitors can see, and the only way you can see what the planet truly is if you get touched by her? Is that like what I'm gathering?
Yeah, so her anti-life part of the planet is just like a force field.
There's like a spell or something almost.
Yeah, so if you want to get to the actual planet, you got to be touched, or you got to be chosen to get there. I don't know if you can just leave, though, because they're like space dudes. They got to get out of here.
Right,
Can they get out now, or are they trapped inside this planet? I wasn't clear on that.
Yeah, it was a little confusing here at the end. But so I think what we got is because they didn't go find Jayce's father. Of course, again, the story doesn't finish itself anyway, but this very much felt like a side adventure episode, and maybe a lot of them are like this, where we're looking for my father, and we're trying to save the universe, but I happen to be on this planet. Let's tell this planet's story while I'm here. And that was basically it for Season 1, Episode 22 of Jayce and the Wheeled Warriors, called Quest into Shadow. So now that we've kind of talked through an episode and kind of given our thoughts a little bit on it, Brad, where do you sit on this cartoon?
Yeah, but I guess my problem with it is there wasn't a story here. There was nothing happened. Like, they didn't help this planet. They just learned, like, hey,
it's secret, yeah.
Yeah, we're secret. That's a terrible 20-minute story. I felt like I was missing something while watching this, and I think that's why I was so confused. I'm like, did I learn anything? Did this move their story at all? They didn't even help this planet like get out of their anti-life zone. So they're not even helping anyone. These whole adventures, he's not even like a good guy. He's just
looking for his dad.
My dad. I don't give a crap about you. Later, how do I? My dad's not here. Out. Oh, you're all dying. Out.
When you put it that way, it's very much like
I don't know what the other episode.
It's like this kid is off looking for his dad, and meanwhile, there's a villain who's like destroying the universe, and he's like, "Get that kid!" Like that's pretty much what it is. Yeah, I don't know.
And for all we know, that maybe Sawborg is his dad. Whoa.
Yeah,
he's trying to like get him, like get that kid. That's my son. Like get him over here.
Stop going to scary planets, son. I tried to put plants all over it so you wouldn't go to it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah.
It definitely was weird being thrown into the middle of this cartoon. Not really like if you have a show with like 6 main characters or 8 main characters or whatever, however many characters are in this troupe, and you get thrown into the middle of an ongoing story. Yeah, it's a little tough. I was like, okay, who are all these people? Why is there a wizard with a bunch of space people? You're like crossing sci-fi and fantasy. You're confusing me. I'm not sure what's going on here.
And get that fish in some water. Come on.
Right. I do. And the dialogue, like a lot of it, the writing is very cheesy. Like it's fun, but it's I just, for some reason, while I was listening to the lines of dialogue in this show, I was thinking of like what they looked like in the booth reading the lines, and it made me laugh even more of like how awkward some of the dialogue feels. There was even a moment where when Jayce decides that the queen is right and maybe she has something to say here and it's our last hope, he turns to the camera and looks at everyone and says, "I think she should touch us," or so, like just something like that was like, okay, sure, man. But interesting show nonetheless. I think it falls into that same vein of like if you're looking for an action 80s cartoon, I'm not going to say this one's the best one out there. I do like the world building. That's something I love on the show is like when they try to build these big overarching stories. But I don't know if it hits the mark, man.
The different planet ideas, which is kind of fun. But yeah. I don't know. I'm missing something here.
In a world where like G.I. Joe exists, I have a troop of guys versus another troop of guys show already. Same with Transformers. So I don't know that I need Jayce and the Wheeled Warriors in my life.
Right. I didn't need plant dudes. I got robots and I got army guys.
I feel like
I'm good, and I got some turtles if I need them.
Yeah, just in case. I feel like one of the episodes of, gosh, it was also an older show. I don't think it was Thundercats or we did another show where there was a villain who was like a plant guy, and I can't quite remember what it was. I don't think it was He-Man.
That was
either.
on He-Man.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, that was He-Man.
But that one was like, hey, He-Man was more like, hey, there's a bunch of interesting villains, and you might come across them. This is like, there's one villain all the time. And then his henchmen, I guess. I don't know. Anyway. I think we've said all we can say about Jayce and the Wheeled Warriors at this point. So let's get out of here.
Yeah, I didn't even know I had this much to say about it.
Well, we managed. We did it. Let's get out of here. Brad, where can people find out more about you when you're not recording Toon Talk Weekly?
I'm on Twitter @brad, and then my blog is digitalhitchhiker.com.
Great. Guys, go check them out over there. You can follow me on Twitter @Jacob Williams. And, of course, Toon Talk Weekly is all over the place. We're on Twitter @Toon Talk Weekly, Facebook.com/Toon Talk Weekly. We're over on Google Plus as Toon Talk Weekly as well. We also have toontalkweekly@gmail.com as the email. You can send us any of your messages, shows you want us to cover, maybe more we didn't know about Jayce and the Wheeled Warriors. I'd love to hear about it. There was definitely some cool moments of the show, but it's maybe not up our alley. We got some other favorites instead. And finally, toontalkweekly.com, the main hub for the show, where you can find all 223 episodes that we've done over the last few years. So that's going to do it, I think, all for this week's cartoon. I, once again, have not decided on next week's, but I think I have an idea, but I might as well not commit to it yet, because what if I don't want to watch it? You know? What happens then?
Right, okay.
So that's going to do it for this week's episode. We will catch you guys next week with another cartoon.
Take care.
about the show, visit toontalkweekly.com or follow us on Twitter at Toon Talk Weekly.